Hi, my name is Brandon, and I'm an alcoholic and addict in recovery. And yesterday I talked about different ways to know whether or not you have a substance abuse disorder, whether or not you've got a problem with drugs or alcohol that needs to be addressed, that you might need help with. And today I want to talk about some of the do's and don'ts of addressing any kind of substance use disorder, and what I've experienced, and some advice that Dr. Michael I. Bennett and Sarah Bennett lay out in their book, Fuck Feelings. So the first don't of that you should keep in mind once you realize that you have a substance use disorder, once you're ready to do something about it, don't take on other addictive behaviors in order to try to curb another addictive behavior. So, for example, when I originally quit drinking a little over 4 years ago, I convinced myself that using marijuana was still perfectly fine. And that very quickly turned into a very addictive relationship with marijuana. That ended up causing enough problems in my life that it drove me to a residential treatment center so that I could get sober once and for all. Other people get addicted to or have addictive behaviors related to all sorts of things. They might go from drinking too much to exercising too much. And this is something that I've seen with a lot of people, is that, and there's even some pride involved in it with some people, that, I quit drinking and got addicted to jogging or got addicted to exercise. And one of the issues there, and I've seen it in myself, because I too love going and exercising, not just because of the meditative nature of the exercise, but because of the peaceful, calm feeling that I get after the release of endorphins that come from a good period of exercise. And that in and of itself can become addictive, and you can get to a point where, I have days where I have to force myself to take a break from exercise, because I know that my body needs a break. But my mind is screaming, no, don't do that. Tonight's not going to be as relaxing if you don't have that calm, peaceful feeling. So we have to be careful that we're not trading one addictive behavior for another. The point is not to stop drinking and then get addicted to exercise or online shopping or work, or recovery. The point is to stop doing whatever your original addictive behavior is, and then find some balance in life, and figure out how to find balance between all the different things you should be doing. So that's the first do and don't. The second is, don't make excuses about why you don't have time for recovery. So when you look at what people do in recovery, there's a lot of meetings, there's a lot of volunteer work, there's a lot of reading, there's a lot of, if you're working any kind of a program, like AA or refuge recovery or smart recovery, there's a lot of work that happens outside of meetings, individual work that you have to do in order to complete certain parts of the program. And it's easy to make excuses about why you don't have time for that. It's easy for that amount of work to start to cause some stress in your life. Don't make excuses, though. What you need to look at is whether maybe the stress that's caused by the amount of time required for this is caused because there's other places in your life where you need to set some boundaries. Maybe you need to set some boundaries at work and make sure that you can get your work done in a set amount of time each day in order to make some time for recovery. Maybe you need to set some boundaries in terms of your recreational time outside of everything else. So maybe you're spending more time than you need to be binging Netflix or playing video games or doing whatever. Or maybe you need to set some boundaries with family. If you've got family that relies on you very heavily to do certain things, it could be that you need to set some boundaries there in order to save some time for yourself so that you can do recovery work and get yourself in a place where you can contribute more substantially to the people and things around you. Another do and don't is don't get turned off by religion. This is a classic thing that I hear from a lot of people is I don't want to try AA because it's too religious. I don't want to I'm going to do this by myself because I don't want to join a cult. And first off, I can assure you AA is not a cult. Cults typically take your money and possessions, and AA definitely does not do that. Unless you want to throw $1 their way at your meetings. Even if you don't like, even if you look past that and still don't like AA, there's tons of other options. There's Refuge Recovery, there's Rise Recovery, there's Smart Recovery, there's all these options. Tender Loving Care is a newer organization that I've heard about. Recovery Elevator is a place that offers an online community for people who are recovering. There's all sorts of different places. So don't get turned off by religion and think, oh, I'm just going to do this by myself. I can't join a religious organization, because most of these organizations are not religious. Instead, get turned on by spirituality. And I want to read a section of the book here. They say the spirituality that helps people help one another to manage addiction does not require a belief in God. It requires a belief that there's more value in doing good and being the kind of person you can respect than there is in feeling good. So that's what the spiritual part of a program is all about. Focus on that, find a way to get turned on by that, and then use the next two do's and don'ts to get past any hang-ups you have about a religious aspect involved. So the next two things I wanted to say about it were, don't condescend other people because they have different methods of getting recovered. Condescension is just feeding your own ego. And anytime I feel condescension in my heart these days, I try to get away from it. I remind myself, hey, that's me feeding my own ego, saying I know better than somebody else, and feeling proud because of that. It's okay to think you know a better way than somebody else, but feeling pride and feeling like you're better than them because of it, that's not a good place to sit. So what we want to do instead is keep an open mind and look for similarities between you and the people you're around and the people that you want to help out. Looking for similarities rather than differences is something that we hear a lot about in AA, and it's extremely important not just in recovery but in all different areas of life. The more we can focus on similarities, the more that we identify with other people, and the more we identify with other people, the more we open ourselves up to be able to help them and to be able to be helped by them. So that goes back to the spirituality of doing good and being the kind of person you can respect. That ties in with the next do and don't, which is don't expect you can do this all alone. That's what I did for a while. I thought I can do this all alone. I don't need a support group. I don't need other people. That's for the birds. That's for people who just don't have their shit together. Again, condescension, feeding my own pride, feeding my own ego. Instead, do embrace help from people who have successfully done it themselves. Embrace help from people who have been sober a long time. Embrace help from people who have recovered and have gone through life and experienced pain and tragedy and still are able to keep their heads up and help others and love others without turning back to whatever their addictive behavior was that they came into recovery for in the first place. Embrace help from others, and don't be the lone wolf, and don't take pride in being able to do things by yourself, because when you do things by yourself, that inhibits your ability to help other people, and that's never a good thing. Finally, don't expect happiness just because you got sober. I hate to tell you, but it's not life. Look at all the sober people around you. Look at all the other people who don't have an addictive behavior that they're having a problem with. Not all those people are happy all the time. None of them are happy all the time. All of them have issues in life. All of them have stuff they're dealing with. And it's the same for us. So we can practice spiritual things throughout our lives that make things better. Gratitude, helping other people, being mindful of whether our behaviors are self-serving, self-seeking, self-centered. Those are the kind of things we can practice that can help us continue to be productive and that can contribute to our feeling, our overall well-being. But there's nothing I can do in my recovery that makes me happy all the time. And here, this is the last thing that I'll read from the book. They say, don't give priority to their happiness or lack of it. Ask them whether they have priorities that are more important than happiness, like safety, health, the quality of their relationships. You've got to focus less on happiness and more on living by certain standards, more on the quality of your relationships, and more on your ability to help other people. Once you can get to that point, then you will notice that happiness has a larger presence in your life than it once did. But you don't have to focus your entire life on feeling good. That's what we used to do in our addictions. That's what we used to do when we engaged in addictive behavior on a regular basis. It was about how do we make our lives feel good as often as possible. And that's not what recovery is about. Recovery is about more than that. And so these are the do's and don'ts that I wanted to go over today. I hope this has been helpful. If you have any questions or any others that you can think of, please leave them in the comments. If you like this video or this series, please hit like, subscribe down below, and hit the bell for notifications when I put out a new video. I do this every day. Otherwise, that's it for today. I hope you have a great day, and I'll be back here tomorrow with more.